Today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners, who for more than 25 years have successfully delivered interim and permanent leadership talent to transform businesses. To hire the talent you need to enable your business to thrive, visit www.progressotalent.com today. Mark Reeves is the founder of Shaka Surf, a Surfing England accredited surf school in Dorset, set up on the golden sands of Bournemouth and Poole on a 7-mile stretch of beautiful golden beaches. But today's Extrology podcast is a little bit of a break from the norm, because Mark's story is not one of surf and beaches solely, and indeed the incredible things he's done with Shaka Surf, but actually a story about how sometimes in life some of the most traumatic and painful of experiences, particularly in this case as a young child, can lead you to live a life of the most incredible positivity and beauty. He's a wonderful person and a great example to us all of how at any stage in life, if you want to do something you love, with the right motivation and drive, you can do it, and you can turn life around from the most harrowing of circumstances. So what's the story behind the story? Without further ado, let's get into it. Mark Reeves, welcome to Extrology. Great to have you on as our guest here this morning, and really looking forward to get stuck into some topics around your life, which I think will provide a great source of inspiration for listeners. But really appreciate you coming on. And I think what I'd like to start with is the conversation we had before we came on air, which was around the beach, and in particular, your business, Shaka Surf, which sounds like an idyllic way to start a day on the beach on a surfboard. But tell us, what is Shaka Surf and how did you get started?
Well, good morning, Lee, and thanks for having me on your podcast. Shaka Surf, well, we started in 2015. It's where I've always had a love of surfing since I was 21. And I didn't know what to do with my life at the time, and I was working in engineering and saw sharpening, which I'd done for 30 years. And I was at a stage of my life where I thought, well, I need something else. I was single. I need something else. So I started volunteering for the Wave Project, which is surf therapy for teenagers, kids that suffered trauma, ADHD, autism. And basically you're volunteering to help kids on a little 5-week course and see what it does, basically. So it's kind of a trial.
What was the appeal of doing that from your point of view?
I think it was just going around in the surf community and friends were talking about it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. You know, every weekend you go down, you do it for nothing. You go down there and just talk to these kids. And then these kids come in and they're down in the dumps. Like, you know, they've suffered whatever in their lives and they come down, their heads are down. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be there. And then after the first session, they start getting to know you. And in the water, it's a calming effect, especially with kids with ADHD and autism. They become normal and all their problems go away. And I watched it work over the 6 weeks, from high-fiving us at the end and shouting, yeah, you know, loving life. So it's a thing that really works. So that really stuck out in my head. Well, this is good. I like this. How can I do this for a living? Like surfing. So that's how it basically started with Shaka Surf. So
how do you go from volunteering for the Wave Trust is the organisation? So would you say
Wave Project.
Wave Project. How do you go from volunteering for the Wave Project to running a surf school? That's quite a leap. How did that journey come about?
I've always wanted to do something that I love as work, but I never really knew how to. So, and I was never confident to do it. I was thinking, well, I'm in my comfort zone. I'm in a job for 30 years, doing the same thing, stuck in a factory, 8 till 5. I had an okay life and I was having holidays a couple of, times a year, but it wasn't fulfilling my inner potential. So I started thinking about how can I want to do a surf school. That's something I enjoy. I want to do something for a living that I enjoy. So if you think about it, you work in a factory for 30 odd years, you're going to do that for another 20 years. And then you retire and you think, what have you done? Well, I've been stuck in a factory 8 hours a day, no windows. oh, what's that about then? So I started thinking to myself, how can I do it? I haven't got a clue. I've never run my own business. I've always had, ambitions. I've always known how to make a little bit of money, but I've never been confident enough to actually go out there and do it. But we had a couple of meetings with the council and did a trial for 1 year on the beach.
How did you come up with the idea? Well, you certainly come up with the idea, but you got to a point. How do you even begin with a council to get to? Well, where does that idea come from? That actually the council is the answer. I guess is that because of the kind of, for want of a better word, ownership around the beach, who controls what you can do on the beach? Is that where that stems from?
There's loads of red tape, and so there should be. Obviously, the ocean's dangerous, so I totally get that. But this is when Poole and Bournemouth wasn't BCP; it was all like separate. So we were in Poole Council at Branksome Dean, and there's a lady there, Tracy Moore. I think she's married now; it's a different name. And she gave us the chance, basically. She said, well, we'll give you a trial. Obviously, we did my surf instructor. We did the, lifeguard certificate, which we've got to do every year, time swim, rescues, first aid. So I did all that. And it was just to basically do my engineering Monday to Friday, or saw sharpening, whatever you class it as, and then work at weekends on the beach. So...
And what do you start with? So you've got your surfboard. I mean, how do you make a surf school happen? I mean, I guess you've got to have a certain number of surfboards, and then you've got to have punters who are going to come along and want to learn to surf. But
yeah, I mean, it started off. I mean, obviously I didn't have much money, so I had a little bit put by, obviously, to do this, because I always had you always got to have something put by, and I just went and got a load of second-hand surfboards from a surf school in Newquay.
I mean, even that. What gave you that? I just want to find second-hand surfboards. Where would I start? I wouldn't even know where to go.
I started on eBay.
Right.
Just looked on eBay, bulk surfboards. Just typed something in, and eventually I can't remember how I found it, and I went down to the surf school, got these boards, just used them, and then there was another company around here, everyone probably knows, Sandbank-style paddleboards. They just started up the same time in 2015, and I had a meeting with Andy, and he had these new boards. We just got all these boards in. I said, well, I'll have 10 of them off you. I said, we'd trial them to see what they're like. We were the first surf school they ever used. So that's why we got quite a close bond with them, because, they're good guys. And now I think they supply 150 surf schools. And they're a multi-million-pound company, So we still use theirs, obviously, with the other local ones we use as well, which are all really good. But you have got to use good boards. Paddle boards. So that's how I started. Then I went on eBay again and found bulk wetsuits, second-hand wetsuits. Drove down to Cornwall, got about 40 wetsuits. Some of them were knackered, some of them were not. And then I invested in, obviously, getting some new ones as well. So it was a low-cost start-up, and then obviously you've got all your insurances to pay. So it's quite a big... Overall, it's quite a big, probably about 20 odd grand to start up.
Yeah.
And obviously then you've got to get...
It's a significant outlay, right? It's a significant investment that you're making in your future.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it started. And I was working 7 days a week for maybe, 4 years.
Can you remember that first day? So your first morning on the beach when Shaka Surf is a thing.
Loved it.
Did you have... What would you call customers? Did you have customers lined up? Did you have people there? Right, teach me. How did that first day play out? Because you're not praying, A, the sun shines, B, people turn up, that you've got something that you think people are going to buy, people are going to invest in doing this.
I think first of all, it was that long ago. I think all I remember is as soon as I set up on the beach, I had all the boards lined up, and it was like bloody hell, I'd done it. And it was a really good feeling. So I put the tunes on, put Bob Marley on, and that was the best feeling in the world. I thought, well, you bloody done it.
Were you nervous?
No, I don't think I was nervous. It was like, you can do this. Like, you can do this. And at first, obviously, then we had our first hire come in. And then I always remember the guy comes down now, he's a pilot. And he came down and hired 4 paddle boards, 4 wetsuits with his, friends and stuff. And then really the lessons started coming in after that. And it was basically, it wasn't much social media. I wasn't big on social media promoting. Didn't have a website. And then I started a website, and then it's just grown and grown. And since COVID, I've gone full time. So,
and the thing that fascinates me, and we touched on this again off air, but I think, that to your point, I put words in your mouth, but you work in engineering, saw sharpening, 30 odd years. So for the benefit of listeners, what age were you when you started Shaka Surf?
8 years ago, so it would have been 45.
Yeah, so I think there would be a proportion of people who might think, you want to make that big change in your life. It's a big leap, right? It is a big leap of faith. You're pushing yourself right outside your comfort zones, but you frankly had the balls to do it. I think people would admire that greatly. Certainly I do. And I think, but do you remember those, was there that sense of, well, did you have any doubts? Did you have any sort of, what if it doesn't work out? You mentioned confidence.
God,
what was going on in your mind?
I had security of my job. So if anyone else ever thinks about it, I wouldn't jump straight in on doing something. I would sort of like feed it in.
It's almost like a side hustle to start with.
I would feed it in slowly to see if it works. Obviously, I've had security all my life with this job. And it was like it was institutionalized, like being in prison. So not in a bad way, because obviously, I still get on with the guys that, that I was in that company for quite a long time. But it felt like you're in a prison, basically. You're indoor, no windows. And then sometimes I'll get to work in the dark and go home in the dark. Didn't see daylight.
Which is, I'd imagine, is a familiar feeling for a lot of people, right?
Yeah. And, I'll get out and it was like shining bright in your eyes and you're like, where's the day gone? It's like that for 30 odd years. Well, at that company I was there 25 years. But I left school on the Friday, started work on the Monday. And I think I worked for Raymond Brown's, I think. Do you remember Raymond Brown's?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I worked for them as a surveyor, holding the theodolite thing, holding the staff up. I used to ride my BMX to Westmoors and do the Wimborne bypass.
Yep. Yeah.
I helped build that. I just held the staff up. And I thought, this is boring. But, it was quite a good job that I was going to train to be. I thought, no, I'm not riding from Ringwood to Westmoors. I did that for about 6 months. Then I was a dry liner, mixing, carrying. I was only little Lee at school, and I was like probably about 8 stone and carrying these great big thick plaster boards up spiral stairs and mixing up. I thought, God, this is bloody hard work, this is. And did that, and then there was a company in Ringwood up in Fairley called West Tivoli Saw Service. They've gone bust now, or they've just finished. And someone said there's a job going there, so I just went in there, and that was saw sharpening, the old style type of thing without the the engineering machines and stuff like that. So I did that for maybe 5-8 years there, and then I got poached to go to a company in Poole.
So you had that kind of that, and that had been. Let's go back to surfing. So you mentioned, so surfing's been part of your life for quite some time, and there's a story behind how you got into it. Tell us a bit about how you first got into surfing.
Yeah, it was in 1990. I was teaching football in Pennsylvania, Camp America thing, and then I travelled over on a camper to Huntington Beach in California. And I was staying at a friend's house that we met out there, and they had a surfboard in the garden. It was a tiny surfboard, and when you're a beginner surfer, you need to surf on a big board, big buoyancy, 8 foot. This was about 6 foot, 1 fin in it, and it should have had 3. It didn't have no leash on it. The leash is what keeps your leg to the board. And I said, "Oh, can I borrow that?" Because we were right on the beach, right next to the pier. So I picked it up, went out every day. Rubbish, absolute rubbish. No training, absolute doing everything completely wrong. Took me about a month to stand up, and that was just briefly. And I thought, well, this is good fun. I need to do this. So then obviously I came home after a year and went to, I think it's somewhere in Devon, I think. I had a surf lesson and had the right board, the right guidance, stood up straight away, and that was it really.
And had you been surfing, so you go 2021, so 25 years of surfing until you got to the point where you're actually, Shaka Surf becomes a reality?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that then at the time.
No.
it's just, I just felt the freedom you get in the water. You know, it's just, as a surfer, I just love, it's a lifestyle. It's not a hobby. It's actually a lifestyle. And most of the surfers, they live a great life. Like, people think, oh, they're all poor, they haven't got any money. But God, they're rich in life. They get to travel the world. They surf the best waves, you know, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, it comes back to your point, you know, you're not seeing daylight. We're not designed. That's the first thing that struck me, is we're not designed to sit inside all day.
No.
You know, actually we need, you know, all of the benefits around getting outdoors and daylight and, you know, getting your vitamin D and all that kind of stuff. There's a huge amount to be said to it. I don't think I've ever seen a miserable surfer, met a miserable surfer. You know, it's just something that I guess it's part of being out there in nature and having the challenge as well. But persistence is a key here, because you, like, you know, to your point, you just kept going with it, right? There's a lot of people who had picked up that board in California and kind of gone, I wasn't very good at that. Right, put it back in the garage or wherever it was, and you never pick it up again. But you kept going back.
It's not because I wanted to be good at it. It's the feeling it gave me.
Yeah. How would you can you remember that feeling? How does it? Do you still get that feeling now when you get on a board? How would you describe it?
As soon as you get in the water, you feel like that, and you're just sitting on your board waiting for a wave. Until you do it, it's hard to describe what it's like. It just makes you feel great. Like, and afterwards, you know, like these people do the water swimming, the cold water swimming. Why do they do it? Because it makes them feel good. So do stuff that makes you feel good.
So at what point with Shaka Surf? So you started off, you're working full time, Monday to Friday. Then Saturdays and Sundays are on the beach. You're hiring boards for people. You're teaching people. At what points did you think? Can you remember a moment where you thought, do you know what? Actually, this is a full time pursuit. I can make this. I can make a living out of this.
Well, it started off. I mean, this was my life for a couple of years. I finished with the engineering, the saw sharpening. I finished with that, and then went to another company, just fitting, making traffic lights, insides of traffic lights and things like that. And so that was a big change for me, just changing jobs after 25 years. So that was a big change. So that was like my slowly getting out of it type of thing. So I started working with these guys in Ringwood, and basically the business has started to get a little bit more busy. So obviously doing weekends and bank holidays. And then obviously the summer holidays, it starts getting really busy. Obviously all the kids are off school. And I was getting up at sort of like 5 o'clock, getting the van down to the beach. My instructors are getting there at 6 o'clock. I'm unloading all the kit, helping set up, getting back to Ringwood for 7:30, working at 7:30 till 4:30, driving straight to the beach, loading the van, another hour and a half. They've worked all day. Basically, I was earning more money on the beach than I was working in this place. So, and it was kind of, I'm working. I should be down there. I should be there. I should be. I did that for 2 years, and then COVID happened, and then obviously you have to sort of like, I'll sit back and, what are you going to do? Let's go full time. Let's just do it and see what happens.
Was there a moment? Can you remember it? Was there a moment when you thought, "That's what, right? I'm going to push this now"? Because I guess at the point, COVID was pivotal for so many people. So it's good and bad, right? Lots of huge changes for a lot of people. It had a huge impact, clearly. You know, the first thing that struck me is that we're locked in our houses. So could you I know we got to a point, I can't quite remember the time frame, but that then we were encouraged to be getting out. When people were encouraged to exercise. You were talked about getting your hour out. You could go out your house for an hour and go for a walk or bike ride or whatever. So,
I still went surfing. Like, you know, even though when you wasn't allowed to, I thought, what's the harm's that going to do?
I think a lot of people did, didn't they?
Yeah, was it wrong? No. I was just driving down in the van, going down to the beach and going in the water. And there's a couple of people out in the water. And at once we had 2 policemen on the beach just looking at us. What are you going to do? Yeah. What are you going to do? Come in the water? In the end, they just give up and go. Like, you know, but it's a case of well-being. Like, something makes you feel good. Why should your mental health suffer? You're not putting anyone at risk. You know, so that's what we did, and that's what everyone did, you know.
So you got that time at home to think actually this is...
No, I was doing the lawn. I was cutting I was cutting the grass, because my garden's got a bloody long garden, loads of grass. And it takes me about 2 hours to cut it. And that's my thinking time. Get put Bob Marley on in the ears and just mow the lawn. And you start thinking, that's when all my thinking happens, because I don't like to think too much because it hurts. But I was thinking, let's just do that. What you got to lose? So just basically, let's do it. See what happens. Best thing I ever did in my life. So now, I work 82 days a year. When I say work, that's on the beach. 82 days a year, April till obviously beginning of October. I do a lot of work, obviously, with the festival and stuff. That's online. In my eyes, in my office, sitting at home doing work, something you enjoy doing about surfboards and wetsuits and things, that's not work. So, I could be working a lot more. Obviously, I'll work in the daytime, doing the shop and, and the online shop we've got. And I do stuff like that, but I don't class that as work. I class that as something. Work is physical to me because that's all I've actually done, physical stuff. So you're only here for a little time. You've got to be rich in life. So I think, well, just do the stuff you enjoy and live instead of working. I mean, if you're sat on a park bench at 70 years old and someone sits next to you, you're all right. Have you had a good life? You could either say, yeah, I've been stuck in a factory for 50 years, didn't see daylight, except in the summer. Got home, I was too knackered too knackered to go out. Or you can say, oh, I've done the best job, lived the best life that I could do. I made those choices to work on the beach, do something I love, and then travel around the world in the winter. Live the best life you can. If you can do it, make those choices and do it.
I think there's some context here, and I deliberately wanted to start the conversation today with Shaka Surf because I think we'll come back to what Shaka Surf looks like today because it's so much more. You've touched on it, but you've got sat there in a great Shaka. You've got your own clothing brand now. You've got the shirt on. It looks a great shirt. You've got you've got the web shop. You got the festival. We'll come on to dog surfing. You've got all sorts of great ideas, and it's a real it's a real burgeoning kind of animal. It's really exciting. But there's some context here because, you're talking a lot about making the best of your lot, making the best out of living life, and you are living life. And I think it's not always been like that, has it? And I think there's some difficult childhood, difficult upbringing story behind it, which I think for context for people to understand is really important because I think sometimes, I have lots of conversations like this, as you know, and I think there's always that sense with people talk a lot about the successes that they've enjoyed, and there's been a lot of heartache and hardship along the way to get them to that point, a lot of blood, sweat and tears. You talk about it, well, it's not really work, I'm on the beach. I mean, I've seen you, I've been there early in the morning and I've not offered help, but I've seen you trying to get those boards out of the van. I mean, there's physical demands getting everything set up, but you are working hard. You don't
we work hard.
You're working hard. I know that. You don't succeed in business if you don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just me, it's my instructors are amazing.
Yeah, you've got a great group of people.
And they love their job because, I love what they do. I care about them. So I think that's really important to care about, the people that work for you, because if you don't care about them, you send negative vibes out. And I ask them how they are and what they're doing, praise them when, I see things that they do good.
Yeah.
I don't go up and pick up on bad things. If I notice something, I'll go up to them and say, I noticed you did that. That's really good. Well done. And little things like that send off little, I think there's something like I was telling you about earlier. There's a thing called forensic leadership, which I found out about yesterday at some seminar we went to. And it's the kind of thing that I do. And you can send off big red negative traces, or you can send off green positive traces. All these traces peter off to all different places. So if you wake up one morning in a bad mood, oh, what are you doing? What's that? That'll send off straight away a negative feel for the day. Then they'll tell somebody else. Then they'll feed it to a customer. So it always goes off bad. So wake up, I'm lively in the morning. So I wake up, hey, good morning, how you doing?
That's the thing I've always found about you. I know, obviously, again, for context and benefit, but we've known each other for quite a long time. But you've always been, ever since I've always found you incredibly positive. You've got great energy. You bring a lot to a conversation, to a room, whatever it might be. You've got great energy. But that, you haven't always lived by the beach.
No.
And life hasn't always been we could sit here and say, there might be people listening thinking, oh, it's all right for this guy. He works 82 days a year. He sits on the beach. Is that really work? And what a lovely life, and lucky him. It's never linear, is it? There's a lot of blood, sweat and tears gone into making that happen. But there's also some difficult stuff to contend with from the early days. So let's dig into that. If you look at, like I say, you didn't always live by the beach. So where did you grow up? Let's talk about what early life was like for you.
Yeah, well, I was brought up in South London, football mad, big Wimbledon fan. This is before Wimbledon were in the professional leagues. This is when they're in the Southern League. This is the crazy gang. My mum was a tea lady at Wimbledon, so we knew all the players. My dad was a chief steward at the clubhouse. So obviously we knew all the players going through it was the old fourth division, third division, Division 1 and stuff like that. So this is the John Fashanu, Vinnie Jones era, that type of thing. Before that, it was Alan Corks. And so basically my life was football. Mum and dad gave me a brilliant childhood, all happy. And then something happened in 1977 which just changed my life. I was playing on my skateboard. Basically, we lived, trying to get the setting. We're in a London street in Clapham. Rows of houses. We had a little corner shop next door to us, across the road. I can picture it now. And I was on my skateboard with a guy called Stephen Day, I think his name. Never seen him since I've moved. But
how old were you at this point?
1977 this was, so I was 8. It was late 77, so... Yeah, we were walking, playing on a skateboard that I made out of some roller skate wheels and a plank of wood. Screwed them on. So I'm playing outside, completely happy, talkative, mad about football, cricket, played that every day, went down Clapham Common, played every day with mates, no phones. It was those days when you go out and in the morning on a Saturday, all your mates come around, get down to Clapham Common, play football all day, get filthy dirty, come home when it's dark, and have your dinner, or on Sunday, because I was obviously watching Wimbledon if they're at home. But yeah, that was my life, brilliant. So I was playing on my skateboard that I made right outside the door of this shop, and suddenly this blue Bedford van pulled up. Those old school 70s Bedford vans, and a load of guys jumped out the back, out the passenger door. And I've looked up, and they've all got these stockings over their heads, distorted faces. I still see it now. Their noses all squashed up against their faces. Big, big guys. Knives, axes, guns apparently, but I didn't see them. But yeah, so that they've jumped out, get out of the way, pushed me out of the way. I thought, whoa, I'm tiny. I'm 8 years old, and I was a bit of a what are you doing? Like that. I was like, whoa, it just took me by. So I thought, what do I do? Right, I need to help. So I ran across the road, knocked on the door, no one. So I shouted through the letterbox, opened the letterbox. I always remember my dad eating spaghetti. Right, and he had it dangling down his face trying to get it in. Mum, Dad, somebody's robbing the shop. So he's got up. My dad's not a violent man or anything like that. He's the most chilled bloke, you could ever meet. And my mum's quite aggy, she wouldn't take no shit. And so they both come running out. They've run across the road. I've run with them. My sister's at school, so, she was coming or she was at some thing after school. So she didn't see it. And so I run in the shop. My dad said, get out. So my dad's jumped on this guy from behind, and I'm there. The door's open. My mum's gone in there. They've thrown my mum underneath the drink fish. You always remember, because you remember the R. White's lemonade?
Yes.
Those bottles, and always remember them. They got and they slammed that over her. and trapped her underneath. And she's seen this massive knife, like this like machete type of knife. And I've watched her and she's kicked it underneath the freezer. Like, she's kicked it, so that's gone. So I'm watching all that. My dad's pretty much beating this guy up, basically. I've never seen my dad do it. I was like, blimey. And then they've obviously realised they're in trouble. So the drivers come out, push me out of the way again. Got this knife, probably about 8-10 inches, right in front of me, just gone straight in my dad's neck, down there, not across. It's gone down, and it's
down into it, down through his.
It's gone down.
Down
It's
through his spine.
It's punched his lung.
Goodness me!
He's got this knife sticking out of him, blood everywhere, and my mum's screaming, and my dad's, "What's going on? I'm going to pass out. I'm going to pass out." And I didn't know what pass out meant, because I was, does that take me die? No, like that. And obviously this guy's sped off.
So they'd gone. These guys
they've done after they've done. They've known they're in trouble. They're in trouble. So they've got in the van. They sped off, and I've run after them down the road. Don't know why. I always remember running down those white lines in the middle of the road. I'm going, yeah, you stay, my dad. I was running down there, and then I thought, what are you doing? You're not going to catch them. Obviously, they come back, and all I remember is my dad sat on a chair in the middle of the road with people all around him, and everyone's called an ambulance. The ambulance didn't arrive. And yeah, pretty much that was it. It was like shock, and then the shock sets in. They broke my mum's hand as well. Like the Vinnie Jones episode in that film.
In Lock, Stock.
Yeah, where they're slamming his hand in the door.
Yeah.
They were doing that in the shop door with her hand. I always remember it, seeing her as she was screaming. And I always remember that. Like, obviously, she broke her hand. Yeah, and that was that day in 1977.
Did someone call the police?
No one turned up for ages. I always remember no one turned up for ages. So in the end, we had to get Dad in a taxi. Like, so that he's led out in a taxi, and he's gone to hospital in a taxi because the emergency services took a little too long to arrive.
Jeez, I mean, that's... Even just hearing you describe it, it sounds horrific.
It's vivid. I still remember everything.
Clearly, it's very vivid for you.
The hard thing, I've never really spoke about it.
No, I know.
The reason being, obviously, this was quite a big crime. These guys were London protection gangs and nasty people.
So to your point, it was that I think you may mention there were guns or there was the suggestion that guns had been involved.
I didn't see
it was an armed robbery. For all intents and purposes, it's an armed robbery, right? Whether it's with knives or gun, whatever, it's an armed robbery. Yeah. So these guys are committing armed robbery. Your dad, and your mum, what an incredibly brave couple of people, selfless, brave people.
God, yeah. I think that's where I get my...
I think a lot of people would have gone, crikey, that's a scary... I'm staying out of that. I'm not getting involved. I mean, huge... If credit is even the right word, I'm not sure that's anywhere near enough what I want to say, but incredibly brave. But then the aftermath of that, you then got your dad.
This was the worst bit. Like, obviously, my dad was in hospital for 3 months.
Right. That was going to be my next question. So, first and foremost, how was your dad? How was your mum physically before we go on to the clearly?
Yeah, I mean, my mum was fine physically. They fixed her hand, but she had a nervous breakdown after that. And because my dad was in hospital for so long, what I remember is my mum in bed every night crying, basically, with me and my sister. So we're in the same bed. I think we had some people nicking our car and trying to break in.
Trying to intimidate you as
Basically, my mum was the chief witness, and, it was a pretty big thing because these guys were nasty. I did hear stories of them with other people breaking in people's houses and gouging their eyes out because they haven't paid their protection money and stuff like that. That's what I've heard. Don't know whether that's true, but that's what I've heard over the years.
Which I guess, even as an adult, it's horrific. But as a child, you must look. The thing that strikes me is you lose some innocence. You lose a lot of innocence, right? You're growing up overnight. You're being thrown into a world that you never expect to find yourself in.
To be honest, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
It's incredible. Like I said earlier, how much positivity you bring to every situation. That's an incredible thing to say.
Well, it is, because, I haven't finished the story. It gets worse. The reason my mum was crying every night, she only told me this about 15 years ago. The trial went to the Old Bailey obviously it was my dad got a Binney Award from the Law Mayor of London for bravery. I think the equivalent is like, the TV awards where they do the top 10 awards for bravery and stuff like that. Back in the 70s, that was the thing. They give him a award on a boat in London on the Thames, and they give him £100. Right, that was 77. It's quite a lot of money, I guess. And so after that, obviously, my mum was walking around with me and my sister around Balham and Clapham, and my mum was at the bus stop. This is before the court case. And a guy came up, whispered in her ear, if you say anything, because she's the chief witness, if you say anything in court, we kill you and your kids. Right, so this is why my mum was crying every night in bed, obviously because of what was said. So she's like, well, if I say something, I'm putting my kids in danger, and myself, So obviously she reported it to the police. And told them, said, no, I'm going to still do it. I'm still going to testify.
What
a brave woman.
What a brave woman. I mean, we've already talked about
but she had a nervous breakdown as well.
The pressure alone, just, and the stress. I mean, we've both got children. I mean, the worry that you have generally about your kids being all right and all that sort of stuff in life is just, but to have that threat over, what an incredible woman.
Yeah, 100%. And she's still around now, so I've never really told her. So.
What an incredible woman.
Yeah, she is. And basically after that, obviously it's gone to court and they've got put away. I think they got 10 years or something like that. But before that, they did, in London, they had a thing called Police 5, which is the old...
Yeah, Shaw Taylor. I think I remember the fella's name that used to present it.
Yeah, that was him, yeah. And they did a reconstruction before that to catch them. It's like the Crime Watch, the Crime Watch UK. It's the same sort of thing. And they did a reconstruction. They put me in there as a little blonde boy and stuff. And they did all that, and that's how they caught them through that. But the police did say, you need to get out of here. So, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs, because obviously I was only young and I haven't really spoken to my mum about it. But next thing I know, we're in the New Forest. This is where I haven't seen... I've been to a beach about twice, probably gone to Margate from London, and I was fascinated by the feel of the sand. I was fascinated by it, and I was thinking, oh, that's nice. Going in the water and things like, wow, this is different. Because obviously all I'm used to is football, everyone running around in London. And then suddenly I'm in this New Forest, millions of trees, and I thought the New Forest was a new forest.
Yeah.
People put a load of trees up.
Yeah. It makes when do you think of it like that? And as a kid, you think it makes sense.
As a kid, that's what I thought. What's a new forest? Obviously, my dad was a screen printer, and obviously he's got a job in the New Forest. Under police protection, I guess. I think at the time that was probably the same. They said, look, get out of here. Go. Why, all this is going on. So we bought a house, and he got a job here. Then my mum got a job here, and that's the best thing that ever happened. Moving to the New Forest.
And I think we touched about this on this stuff, but for a while, the impact of all that had happened to you, even not speaking about it, but just speaking generally. You, for want of a better expression, lost your voice, didn't you? You found it difficult when you first moved to even to communicate as a consequence of
I forgot to say about that.
The traumas that you've been through. Yeah,
I didn't talk to anyone after it happened.
And again, there wouldn't have been. I mean, I guess today there'd have been counselling available for you.
Apparently, I did have counselling, but I can't remember it. But I didn't speak to anyone. After it happened, when we moved to obviously in London, we were there for a little while. I can't remember how long after. But I wouldn't speak to anyone, not even my auntie, I just spoke to my best friend, Ziad, my mum, my dad, and my sister. That was it. I didn't speak to anyone else. At school, they called my name at register, just put my hand up. And then we got to the New Forest. Obviously, my mum's explained it to, the schools or the primary school I was in. And they've all known the history of what's happened. So they're obviously keeping an eye on me. And I've gone into school, and I was streetwise, obviously London.
Yeah.
I'm streetwise. I've grown up in a hard environment at school. A lot of scraps, and you have to look after yourself. And I've moved to the New Forest, and they've had a good life. Like, they haven't had hardship. Some of them have, obviously, but I found it shocking. But I didn't speak. So I got there and thought I was a weirdo because I didn't speak to anyone. And I couldn't tell anyone about what's happened. Obviously, 'cause we don't want everyone to know where we are. So for years and years, I couldn't tell anyone the whole story. So this is the time where I'm telling everyone the story.
Was there a point at which you felt, I'm ready to start to open up about this now? Was there?
Yeah. I got over it a long time ago. Well, perhaps I haven't. I think I have. But I didn't let it affect my life at all, really. Even from, 21 onwards, I think I was fine after that. But obviously, I was a little bit insecure. I didn't trust many people. Didn't believe in myself. Thought that bigger people were better than me, which is weird. Obviously, because all I remember is these big guys. I was just a bit insecure growing up. And I think now, since I've met Jules, my partner, I think she's such a lovely person. She's helped me evolve into the person I am now. So she's put me in the best place I've ever been in, which is why I can probably speak about it. So, and that's a good story. I met her on the beach. It was a great story.
All the best things happen to you. They're great. It's great. It's great. It's back to being an inspiration that you provide again. But all the good things that happen to you on the beach are a great lesson for many of us to spend more time on the beach. I think it's just a great place to be.
It's lovely. But yeah, that is a good story. I think did I tell you the story?
I know the story, but share it. If you want to share it, by all means, share it.
I've got to mention her because she's a big impact in my life, as well as my daughter. Obviously, Yaz, and she's got the same sort of like mindset, probably more than mine. She's just come back from Bali, solo traveling.
This is, for listeners, this is your daughter, Yaz.
Yeah,
daughter, how old is she?
28.
28.
28, and she's got my mentality, I think. And she surfs, and yeah, she kind of likes the life that I do, but a bit more, I don't know, a bit more involved in the spiritual type of thing, where I'm sort of like just normal, So she likes the spiritual stuff and believes in the moon and stuff like that, But no, she's great. And yeah, but with Jules, I was on the beach. It was Air Festival weekend 2 years ago. And I'm working on the beach, just packed away, getting all the stuff, getting ready to go in the van. Lovely summer's day. And obviously I'm happily single. All right, great space, happily single. And she's walked past and she's a graphic designer, business strategist, and brilliant at what she does. Can't say what she does, but it's just brilliant. All right, because she's far more intelligent than I am. And she's taking pictures because she's a creative of all the different colours of paddleboards and surfboards. And so I thought, well, she's all right. She looks like Kylie Minogue, like a mixture between Danny Minogue and Kylie Minogue. So do you want a leaflet? Like, she started speaking Australian, and I thought, bloody hell, it is Kylie Minogue. And so I started. So
you're
chatting.
trying to convince her as to the virtues of jumping on a surfboard at Shaka Surf,
I'm trying to chat her up, Lee. To be fair.
I was trying to be polite.
Yeah, I was trying to chat. I'm trying to chat her up because I thought it instantly fancied her. And anyway, she's taking none of it. Like, she's going, no. What do you do in the winter? I was going, well, do you chase the eternal sunshine? I said, yeah, pretty much. And she goes, what are you doing this year? What did you do last year? I said, well, I was in Barbados surfing with turtles, like sitting on my board and turtles pop up. And she's writing in her notes, I want to do that. That's amazing. Like, because where else do you go? I said, well, I'll go to Costa Rica, and she goes, oh, where else is hot around here? I said, well, you can go to the Canary Islands. That's hot in the winter. She says, you're writing all that. I thought, she's writing everything down. Like you said, she's a creative, so they've got to write everything and really detailed. I'm like, blimey. Like that. And anyway, she hadn't taken her leaflet. She's gone. She's only down from the weekend. She's moved from Australia to London for a gap year, basically, and living in London. She's down for the weekend. She wanted to see the beach. And next day, started working, finished the whole day, packed up again, got in the van. I'm driving down the prom towards Branksome Chine to get out. And I've clocked her on my left. I thought, I've got to get a number. I thought, the council say you can't stop the van because it's busy weekend. And I'm like, I got to stop. What I'll do, I'll go around the gun, then come back and do a drive-by. And as I'm moving, then I'm not stopping. So I go get your number. And it was so busy because it was Air Festival weekend. I thought, I can't. She's gone. Blown it. Then I thought, hang on, Rupert. Posh Rupert, one of my surf instructors, called him Posh Rupert. He might be still where we operate. So I'm like, Rupert, yeah. He goes, that Australian girl that I was talking to yesterday. He goes, yeah, she walked past about five minutes ago. She's probably at Alamchine. I said, you got a skateboard, haven't you? He said, yeah, why? I said, go get a number. I said, I'll give you a tenner in your wage packet. So he skated down to her and apparently he goes, hey, Miss Australia, my boss wants your number. And the rest is history. Now she lives in the New Forest.
What a fantastic story.
So, yeah.
Good for you. I mean, it's a great story. And you say, like, great influence on you. And
brilliant.
It's gotten you to a point at which you feel you can open up about what is clearly, for you, even for people listening, I'm sure could relate to the sheer sense of horror and trauma around where you've come from. But where I think it really, for me, ties in is that kind of sense of life's for living. Like you really do strike me as someone who really wants and does. You're not just saying it. So a lot of people talk about it, but you really do live life. And I think it's a really inspiring story. I think there's so many things, and I want to come back to Shaka Surf and all the things you're doing there. But to go from, to go through that as a child, and I think, and I've shared this with you, and I will share this for the benefit of listeners. You and I have known each other for probably best part of 40 years. I would hazard a guess, give or take, 35, 40 years.
I think it's school,
isn't it? Since we were kids. I was horrified when I first started. Yeah, I was horrified. That's the right word. That when I first started to hear of this, I've known you all that time, and I had not one iota, not even an inkling that there might have been something so traumatic in your life because of who you are. Because you are, like, you're just a great guy, Mark. That's huge credit to you. I'm not just saying that because I know you, but because of all that positivity of all the things I've ever known about you. And I was stunned, absolutely stunned. And I thought, well, if I could, the inspiration you provide for so many, for someone who's been through that, then to get even at 45, mid-40s, whatever it would be, to go, this isn't the life I wanted for myself. Time to make a change. When, some people will go, I'm 45, this is it, right? This is it for the next 30 years, and then maybe I check out. I think it's a great lesson for so many of us. And I have huge admiration for you.
I've never really thought about it. Like I said, you said, can you come on your podcast? And I'm like, well, what do you want me on your podcast for? Because that's how my head works. I'm like, I asked Jules, and I said, what's he want me on there for? Like, she goes, don't you know?
She's a smart woman. She's a smart woman, Mark. You want to hold on to that one.
Then she started going through it. Or she goes, that's not real. Like, that's not normal. I was going, well, it's normal to me.
Because it's what it's your experience. You've lived it. I'm hearing about it, and I can't wrap my head around some elements of it. And what I can wrap my head around is the turnaround and the example that it offers, in my opinion, and it is only my opinion, but the example that it offers for so many of us as to the changes that you can be made, the bounce back ability that, that is inherent within all of us, whether we realize it or whether we don't. And the choices that you've had, life is about choices. You could have gone one of a number of ways. I'm no psychologist, but you could have gone one of a number of ways, but that you've decided to take a path which is about positivity. And you talked about the conversations you have with the people that work with you at Shaka Surf. Pick up the positives, don't accentuate the negatives. Make sure accentuate the positives. Let's look at the good in people. Let's and you see that. I mean, I think
negative. What good is negative?
What good is it? I've walked past you.
How has it helped anyone? Like being negative?
I know it's a really difficult thing to define, but even when I walk past and I do regularly, if anyone who knows Bournemouth Beach, Alamchine, Branksome Dean. I mean, it's a beautiful place anyway. But you walk past, there's just a energy around Shaka Surf, right? So ever you get yourself down to Bournemouth Beach, get yourself to Shaka Surf, because there's just a vibe to it that is just a lot of fun. It's just people. There's just a lot of smiles. Yeah. There's a lot of people having a good time, and there's That's what life is about. Life is for living.
Exactly. I mean, I do get people actually sitting on the benches every morning because we put the music on, and they're not very loud, but we put the chilled, Bob Marley, reggae, we put a bit of like surf music and stuff like that, just happy tunes. So I don't know if you know, like the music, if you like, say if you're doing a video on Instagram, someone just does a video. If someone's got music to it, like they do it in Britain's Got Talent as well, then it makes you more engaged, doesn't it? And it makes you feel better. So I know that, right? So I put the music on. It makes everyone feel, oh, this is lovely, isn't it? You're sat on the beach in the sunshine. You've got the nice relax. You feel like you're in Barbados. We've got the beautiful beach. We play the tunes. Everyone comes in. Oh, I'm sorry I'm late. I said, it's not a race. It's all right. Don't worry about it. As long as you have fun.
Well, you even said that to me this morning. I got stuck in traffic and I was wound up. And you're like, well, what can you do? It's just, relax. And you're right. It's not a race. I know you're right.
It's not a race. Everything's not a race. You can only do what you can do. Like, and I think stress kills you. Mm. And what good it's like negative. What good is stress? Like, obviously, like I say to my daughter, Yaz, if she gets anxious about something or she's stressed about something, and it's something trivial that she's going to forget. I said, "You're going to remember this next week." She goes, "What? Are you going to remember this next week?" Like, no. Right? I said, "Is anyone dying?" No. I said, "Don't worry about it." Whether it works, it works for me. But obviously, my mind's wired a little bit differently than most people. But stress kills you.
So let's go back to Shaka Surf, right? Let's get ourselves back on the beach, because it's a great place to be, but not least of which, also from a business perspective, where you find yourself now, 8 years on from when you first got started, and you've been on TV, you've been on the One Show, the Dog Fest.
Oh God,
how do you get dogs on surfboards?
This is mad.
This is where does this concept? Where does it even come from? Where did the idea to put dogs on surfboards even come from?
This didn't happen I didn't plan anything. Like, basically, also we're a dog-friendly beach at Branksome Dean. We hire loads of paddleboards out, and everyone's coming like, "Do you mind if I put my dog on your paddleboard?" Nah, go on. Yeah, it's fine. I said, as long as he's not afraid of the water, yeah, it's fine. Kept doing it, more and more people. I think, blimey, how many... I should start charging for dogs, but obviously I didn't. But I was going, perhaps we could have a bit of fun with it. So why don't you have a little push a dog in a wave, see what happens, obviously. So a couple of friends have come down, they bring dogs and stuff, so we trialled it, just pushing them on a wave. It looked hilarious, and people started watching, let's do that. Let's do a competition. So we're up on a little blackboard on the beach, dog surfing competition in July, in the peak of summer sort of thing. Free event, not just come down, have a watch, so we made a little, like a World Cup sort of like draw, probably had about 5 to 10 dogs, or I can't remember, so it was 5 years ago. And we had no waves on the day. And I said, oh, brilliant. What are we going to do now? We can't push dogs. Because what we were thinking is pushing dogs into a wave, 10-minute heats, dogs on the front. Didn't even think of putting Hawaiian shirts on them and sunglasses. That came later. In the no waves, let's have a race then. People on their knees, only on their knees, because obviously you can get really good paddleboarders. Everyone's equal then on their knees, dogs on the front. Go out, round the kayak that one of our instructors is on, then come back in, then race over the line. Did that, worked a treat. It was brilliant fun. And then I think that was 2018, I think. And then in 2019, I think Hot Radio got involved. Kev Scott and Martin Hatt said, we'll bring a deck down, just for the day.
Had you known them anyway, or they just gotten interested in what you were doing with Shaka Surf?
I've known Kev and Martin for a long time, and basically I sponsored the Surf Report on their show, which is a great show, by the way. And so it spiraled from there. So they came down, bit of promotion for themselves, put a couple of banners up, free event. 500 odd people come, right? And again, we had no bloody waves on the days. I was like, well, paddleboarding works. Then Martin and Kev started getting their microphones and started doing compare on the event. And it's, Cooper, Copper and Bugsy, and he's overtaken him. It was brilliant. And everyone was just laughing, videos, it was going viral. And then then I think it went on Unilad. I think Unilad Gold, someone posted it and it went on Unilad and 1 million hits. Like, and then we thought, blimey, like we better make this into something good. So then obviously we had talks with Hot Radio and said, we'll bring a stage and we get a little stage going and we set up, we get some sponsors in, like, so, some big paddleboard companies came in and sponsored the event. And obviously then we could put a little bit more money into it, so, and then it became a paid event. So I have to pay for fencing, security, portaloos, a festival, like without the music. So the first year was just, it was music. I think we had music during the day. So it only went until 7, 10 till 7. And we had a little stage, we had little local artists that I know that were just friends, just playing, just to save on money. And then that was about 1,000 people came. Like, oh, this is good. And obviously the TV people get hold of it. And the one show said, can we come down and do something on... I said, well, we train the dogs every Sunday at the beach. We've got Vicky from Paws on Board, who's a dog behaviourist, and she trains the dogs to be stress-free on paddleboards and stuff. So she takes them out. They hire our boards and takes them out and does a little course with them each Sunday. Can we film that? I said, yeah. So they come down, their presenter came down and filmed that. And then big promotion was coming on, so we were selling, it doubles every year, so it's like 2,000 people. But then COVID came, so we had to roll it over. So we rolled it over. The one show thing went out and stuff. And I think that the last year, I think it's 2022, we had ITV This Morning. And they said, can we enter the competition, like with Dr. Scott, who's our vet on here, like to bring his dog. So he came down and they filmed the whole day, like the senior producer and blimey, all these big TV people coming. I'm plugged in front of a TV. I've never been on TV in my life. So I'd have had to talk about dog surfing and event organising, which I've never done before. So I've had to get people in that know what they're doing, basically. And the cost of the festival is a lot of hard work. People in that industry, I've got my hands up. It's hard work. So obviously I'm trying to palm it off to people that actually do it, so I got time to run Shaka. But yeah, so obviously in 24, when we do the next one, in July 24, we're hoping for 4,000. Well, we probably will get 4,000 people come in. Live music event till, the evening, which we did last year in 22. We had the Bob Marley tribute band, the best Bob Marley tribute band in the world, came down from Birmingham. They were headlining. We had ITV filming the day. We've got loads of stalls. We've got a bar called The Paws Inn. We've got like food stall, Caribbean food, and it's just like a lovely little party atmosphere on the beach, like a chilled vibe, not one of these boom. It's like a family thing, And I was on the stage at the end during the dance, and I'm looking around and thinking, how did this happen?
How did you feel when you stood on that stage and saw all those people having a great time? I think the thing as well, it's like man's best friend. That's an old term. It's people's best friend, but man's best friend is his dog. So we all have that connection with those of us that have dogs, with connections with them. Dogs alone can make your life, can't they? I mean, brilliant fun. You then throw a beach in, you throw sunshine, you throw surf. Even if the sunshine's not there, we're not always that lucky in England, are we? But how did you feel when? It must have been a heck of a high. It must have, and also a sense of pride. Did you should feel a sense of pride.
Well, the thing is, it felt quite personal because obviously the reggae Bob Marley thing is quite big for me because I just love it. It just makes you feel good. Right, so when they were headlining, playing "Don't Worry About a Thing," and it just said, only event organisers, I guess, can have that feeling. And people kind of, you did this.
You made all those people feel great.
Yeah, you did this. And one guy came up to me, I don't know who he was. I got a picture of it on my Instagram. And he came up to me, the loveliest face he had, like a big smile. And he came up to me, got my hand like this. And he was like, thanks for this. And I was kind of like, this is the best festival I've ever been to in my life. He goes, what an atmosphere. What a great feeling. I just want to say thank you like that. And that was better than everything.
I bet. All credit to you. And you deserve that. And you did that. You created that.
Well, everyone did it. It's a collective, it's a team of
event.
People,
and all credit you for. I understand that you're absolutely right. you have to credit there's a lot of people involved in contributing. But if you hadn't have,
it was
made
my
the
idea.
choice,
It was my idea, and I put a lot of work into it. But there's a lot of other people that deserve the credit. It's not me. It's a big lot of people that deserve the credit. They're behind the scenes.
So what? And I'm sure there will be things, and I'm not going to trip you up and make you reveal things that are not yet for public domain. But what does the future look like for Shaka Surf? Where do you think you can take this?
Shaq, I don't know. I don't have goals. Like, what happens. If you put goals on yourself, it's stressful, isn't it? I just go in with the flow, see what happens. I've got my own clothing coming. I've got them in.
I've already name-checked the great shirt you're wearing today. We'll see that on the video as well.
We've got our changing robes. We've got our lovely designs changing robes, and we sell wetsuits from not our own wetsuits, but other surf companies. We only get the best companies that we think are worth. We sell paddle boards, we sell surfboards. It's all on the online shop. So we're trying to grow that a little bit. But I'm not fussed. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, who cares? It's like it's there. If you want to buy the stuff, buy it. If you don't, then we just carry on teaching surfing. I think that's the only way to think, really. Why put pressure on yourself to, if it happens, it happens. I like these shirts. That's why I got them. I like them. I would wear them. So if I like them, perhaps somebody else would like them. If they don't, they don't. There's a lot more. Why worry if it doesn't work? But they're nice shirts.
Yeah,
they're nice changing robes.
Shirts. Yeah, nice changing robes. I've seen your changing robes. They're nice.
And I only buy the best quality. So I don't want to buy cheap.
No.
I want to buy good quality stuff. And then nothing comes back to you, does it? So, all the stuff's online. If they want to start buying stuff online, then brilliant. If not,
carry on teaching people to surf.
Yeah.
So where can we point people? Where can people go to find out more? People that want to know more about, they want to know about Shaka Surf and all the great things that you're doing. Where can people go?
Just go to shakasurf.co.uk, check out the website. You can get the shops on there. All about the dog surfing's on there. You can book online if you want a surf lesson. You can just click, and there's loads of different options where you want to book. You don't have to book hire. You just rack up and hire as long as it's, not 20 odd boards, then you will have to book. But hire, you just rack up, and lessons, you do have to book. We do vouchers, birthday presents, gift vouchers for surf lessons or paddleboard lessons. We've got kayaks down there, all the wetsuits, all the boots, the gloves, everything you need, really.
Fantastic. Mark, it's been great to speak with you this morning. I really want to thank you for being so candid and taking yourself and us through what clearly some very difficult moments in your life. That's an understatement, but very, very traumatic moments in your life, but through to so much positivity that permeates throughout everything that you do. And like I've said on countless occasions, you're great credit to yourself and to your family. And a great source of inspiration for many. And I think you're brilliant, mate. I think it's incredible what you're doing, incredible where you've come from, and really appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you.
No, cheers, Lee. Thanks, mate.
Good man. All the best.
Cheers.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to today's Extrology podcast. I really appreciate your audience and ears. If you've enjoyed it, then why not hop onto iTunes and give us a review? I'd really appreciate anything that you might have to say. Any feedback always gratefully received, and look forward to hosting you next time. See you soon. Just a reminder, today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners. Visit www.progressotalent.com today for more information.